and welcome to our Thursday evening crafting session. My name's Jenny McCormack. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the market town of Brackley, which is in Northamptonshire, and that's here in the UK. Good evening and a warm welcome to you all. Thank you so much for joining me. Just moving these lights around a little bit. So it is Thursday evening, 25th of January, would you believe, 2024. So by this time next week we'll nearly be into February. We will be into February. And I think most people are quite glad to get January out of the way. That's the general feeling, or consensus of feeling, I think, which is let's get January out. Such a long month for so many different reasons. The light in the evening is getting better, that's for sure. That's always a good sign. By about the 11th of February it will be light still at 5:30. So always look forward to that. If you joined us earlier in the week on Monday, you will have seen me use the Painted Lavender stamp set, which is our coffee and card design, and also this is our selected stamp set of the week. I'm just going to dig out the samples, she says. Here we go. That I made and we have subsequently made at Coffee and Card, and this will be what we're making tomorrow, Friday, at Coffee and Cards in Brackley. So the two card designs that I made on Monday live here were these two. So this one here using the Scallop Contours dies, and I basically masked off the edges of those with some tape, lining it up with the dots on this particular die, and then stamping the lavender flowers inside and the sentiment, and then using a blending brush to go over those edges, and then removing the tape at the end of the session, leaving this really pretty nice border. So there's two variations of that. This is the larger one. This is the smaller one, which works in exactly the same way. The background of this, I've stamped the little flowers from the stamp set, which are these ones here. And then I've stamped the larger flowers, and then on the inside of the card I've stamped those flowers again, and that also appears on the envelope, which is this one here, and I think I did it on the back. I got a little bit carried away. So that was what we did on Monday, and we've carried on with those during the week at Coffee and Card. So here is a little variation. So this is a vertical version effectively of this one, but with a little bit more colour in. I've added a few more little dots as well, just to finish that off. So in the catalogue where you will find the Painted Lavender, there is a complete suite of products. Let me just dig this out, page 24. So I just want to show you these before I go on to show you what we're going to do this evening. So obviously we have the papers as well as the products, and we have the painted lavender stamps and dies, and we also have these lovely butterflies and some gems. But included in this whole collection are these postage dies, so they are designed to look like postage stamps, and I appreciate you can't see those in detail. It's a very small image. So let me turn the page. So you will see there is a stamp set that has just sentiments, goes perfectly with the lavender stamps that has no sentiments, but it also has all of these dies that you can use for lots of different things. As well as making little tags, you can make them look like stamps, and that's what I'm going to do this evening. The dies themselves are £31 and they're completely standalone, so they don't although they coordinate with these sentiments, you don't really have to have the sentiments to get the dies. Obviously, if you purchase them together, you get both at a discount. And there's also a little postmark embossing piece. I just want to show you, see if it shows you any better on here, and then I'll show you the dies themselves. So it's this set here, so there's 12 dies all together. You have all these different sizes of stamps and what could be tickets, and then you also have some little cutouts and some reinforcements. So let me show you the dies. Hi Caroline, I hope you are well. I have the dies. What have I done with them? Just put them down. Here they are. So these are the Perennial Postage dies. This is the one that does the embossing as well. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that are stamp shapes, from the largest right the way down, and you've got 2 square ones and then more rectangular ones. So what I wanted to do was create a template. Maybe if I put it on a piece of card here, you'll see. So it looks like 3 postage stamps in a line. Hi Kat, and what I'm going to do is use that to create a card that has like 3 postage stamps on it. Now you can do this in lots of different ways. What I did was I took a piece of grid paper. I've taken a piece of vellum so I can see through it to see where it is, and then I drew a line bottom and top to be the size of the die that I was using, a little bit higher, and then I used the grid lines to basically space out 3. Now I could have brought these closer together, now I look at it, but I was doing it while I was doing something else. So they're slightly wider space than they need to be. I could recut them, or you could just have one and position it onto your card. So all I did was mark those out, pop the die on them. This is the size of the die, and then ran that through the machine. So this is going to become a template that I'm going to use, hopefully. I haven't tried it, so we'll see. On here to create 3 little stamps, and then once I've done that, I'm going to use that little embossing die to emboss over these with like a watermark. And that would be really nice in the background, although it would take a little bit of time because it's a tiny little die. So let's give this a go. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, let's put a piece of grid paper behind here, and then I'm going to attach this to my grid paper. Okay. And I have a little bit of tape here, so I'm just going to put that there and there, and then I'm going to put this on. I am going to do it by eye. I could do it slightly high and then put a sentiment underneath, which I think is what I'm going to do. So basically using some of those lines there. It's like 2 in from there and 2 in from there, give or take. It'll be close enough. Okay, and I'm going to stick that down as well. So that effectively is going to be my mask. So I hope you're well, Kat. I haven't seen you on here for a little while. Maybe you've been watching in the background. Okay, so I'm actually going to use the stamps, but I'm going to do 3 little scenes. Now they are going to be little because of the size that I've chosen, but what I want to do is first of all I'm going to stamp the main images, but I want to cover up the bottom here so that none of the ink goes onto this bit. So I'm just going to use a scrap of grid paper for that purpose. So we use lots of grid paper at Coffee and Card, and so what I do is I bring that back home when it's looking scruffy and then I just use it for these purposes here. So I'm hoping you can see that. Trying to work out what that is. Oh, it's the reflection of that. Okay, so I'm just going to cover this up and I'm going to stamp my images, and if there's any risk of me going over the edges of here, then what I can do is move or add some grid paper so that it covers up the other sections, if that makes any sense. So let's start by popping that on there, grabbing my stamps. I want to do 3 different little pictures. Oh, bless you, cat's like a headless chicken at the minute. Well, I'm glad you managed to catch us live this time. And hi Carol to you. Okay, so I've got this one here. Let's grab a block and some ink. So this is a very fine one. And I've got everything prepped for Coffee and Card for tomorrow, so I've got to make sure that I don't take something out and then leave it behind, which I do on a regular basis, I'm afraid. Right, I've got some fresh freesia and some gorgeous grape. That's what I'm going to use. And I have a block. So I'm going to use fresh freesia in the background. Where's my stamp gone? Back of my pad. I bet you're all shouting at me then. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Okay, so I'm going to start with, well, let's start with the middle one, shall we? So I'm just going to do I'll do this one stamped off as well. Okay, so just a little bit of pink in the background, and then I'm going to use Gorgeous Grape. Okay, that's fine. So again, just making sure that I've covered up the bottom of my section. Like so. Okay, so you can lift that up and see what that's going to look like. Now I am going to use a blending brush over the edge because I want this really pretty sort of postage stamp edge to be showing. So what you do need to be careful of is that this has now got wet ink on the bottom. Let me move that out of the way. So you want to be careful that you don't then put your wrist in it or your hand in it and then smudge it everywhere, which I will probably do. So let's pop this back on before we do anything else. Okay, I might just take that down as well. Okay. Okay, so now I've got the section on the left. I'm going to use a different part of the stamp set, so maybe maybe this one. No, I'm going to go for this one here with the flowers, because when you get postage stamps of different denominations, of course they are different designs, aren't they? Okay, I'm going to borrow this one here. So you could just cut one and then move it around, but I wanted the whole thing to be, what's the word? Nice and straight. Okay, so I think this is going to be okay as is. I don't need to do any extra masking. Oh, I pressed a bit too hard though. Oh dear, look at that. Never mind. Okay, what I'm going to do, these stamps do feel slightly shallower, and I pressed too hard because I was trying to make sure I was outside the vellum. So what I'm going to do is grab some greenery and just put a little bit of green on the edge. Try and cover that up a little bit. Let's see. Let's take this one. I don't know how much ink I've got in this one. Let's have a look and see. Okay, that'll do. So making sure that I've covered that edge, which I have, covered the bottom section. So, placing that on top, and even then I caught a little bit of it, I think. There we go. Okay. Right, and then we're going to do the one on the right hand side. So for that I'm going to use this one here, the little grasses with the little flowers on top. And then I'm going to use a blending brush over the whole thing. So again, just make sure that when I'm putting this down, the rest of the card that I'm using is covered up. So these are grasses, so I might as well use that same colour. So it's in keeping. Making sure that I don't go off here to the left. Like so. Now I didn't press hard enough. Let's reline that up if we can. Still a little bit missing, but I'm going to leave that and just use a blending brush across the bottom because I don't want to spoil it by over stamping too much. So let's move this up a little bit and let's grab those little flowers. Hello Brenda, how are you doing? I hope you are well. Okay, so we're just going to pop these in here, here, like so. Right, so those are my 3 stamped images, which I know look a bit of a mess at the minute, but all will be revealed when I take the stencil part away. Let's just cover that up for a little bit. So now I'm going to use blending brushes to fill in the rest of that design. So let's grab the right colours. I've got a bit of green, I've got a little bit of purple, and I want the blue one. There we go. Okay, I might have enough blue there already. So what I need to be careful of when I'm using the blending brush, and I've got 3 open apertures, is if I didn't want the blue to go right the way across, then I would need to cover up each one of those in turn. Okay, so I am just going to do that just to show you really. So I can just do it like that. And it also helps to keep this held down. So I'm using blue at the top, like so, and then using a little bit of green at the bottom, like so, and I might use a little bit of pinky purple in the middle. Okay, so there's one. So just going to mask that one off and this one off, and this one I'm going to have just blue and purple. Now I use my blending brushes a lot and I don't clean them after use. They go to coffee and card and they get used. Hopefully most people will use the right colour on the right brush, but if they don't and it gets mixed up, it doesn't matter. Just brush it off on a scrap piece of paper. If it's a colour that you wouldn't use again, you can clean these under the tap. Just put a small amount of washing up liquid on them and then run it under the tap, and they may be slightly stained, but they should come out okay. Right, there's not much on my pinky purple brush, so I'm just going to add the light fresh freesia. Across the bottom here, and I can have a look at these in a minute and go back over them if I need to. Okay, and then finally I've got some purple. Just cover this one up. Purple at the bottom. And blue at the top. Now you just have to be careful. I've got obviously this ink still on the vellum, so you just need to be careful that you're not smudging too much of that. If it's the same colour, then that's absolutely fine. I'm glad to hear you're alright, Brenda. Or I should say not too bad. That's not quite the same, is it? Just know that I'm thinking of you. Okay, I'm just going to add a little bit of this green in. The bottom here. Okay. Right, let's have a look and see what we have. So let's take this piece away. So this was just covering up the bottom of our card. And then this is our piece. What I'm going to do is undo this one and then lift it as if it's on a hinge. so that if I need to add something on, I'm not trying to reposition it. So if I lift this up, there we go, there's my 3 little stamps effectively. That's what I'm trying to recreate. So I said, once I'd cut this out, I really should have cut them a bit closer. I was thinking, oh, I need to leave space in between. So I will show you how I did that setting out. But let's just make sure we've got all of the edges. So there's a little bit in these top corners that I could do with adding. So just a little bit more of that blue. Here and here. Here and here. Okay, there we go. I'm happy with that as it is, even though my stamping wasn't the best. Okay, so there's a couple of things I can do with this. So the first thing I've got is this mask can be reused over and over again. So obviously it's got ink on it because I've left it in vellum because I wanted to see where it was going on the card. You could also use a window sheet or acetate. But what you want to be able to do is either let this dry in between or wipe it and let it dry, because you don't want to transfer this colour onto your next design, which could be something altogether different. So here are my 3 little stamps. So I've got a couple of things that I can do. One of them is to use our perforating tool to draw lines so that you could perforate these, obviously not in real life, but this is our take your pick tool, and one of the tools that you can get for it is this perforating tool. So the tools screw on, so this one has got a pokey tool. If I take this one out, you've got a spatula. Pop that one back in, and one of them is a perforating tool, and then also to go with this there is a knife and some embossing tools. So what I'm going to do is do some perforating along here. Now I used our perforating tool for our classes this month to create a bookmark that you can tear, and I found it easiest, in order to keep the perforated lines straight, is to use my paper trimmer with the embossing piece, emboss where I want to perforate, and then use that as a guideline. So I'm going to do that because you can keep it then nice and straight. Now I have actually cut this to, I think, the size that I want. So I'm just going to run my scoring blade down there. I don't know if you can see that or not. I haven't actually got my glasses on. So I've done that one there. And you could obviously do this more accurately. I'm just doing this because I want to show you the way that you can do it. So I'm just going to draw, basically, embossed lines around here. And I'm using the line of the embossing piece to line those up roughly. They're not exact, but because I'm looking at it at a different angle. Normally I'd have this right underneath where I'm working as opposed to at a distance away. But if I did that, you'd have my head in the camera. Okay, so I just found this much easier to then do the perforating, like so. You could actually just leave it like that. It's actually quite fun, just embossed like that. But I want to show you the perforating. Just going to fold this over because I haven't got a thick mat underneath here and I don't want it to go into my surface here. So I have my perforating tool and a ruler, and then all I do is position my ruler along the line that I've just scored. Make sure it's just got a little cover, so make sure you don't hurt yourself. Make sure the cover is retracted, and then just draw along there. Now it's a bit difficult for you to see, but it is slightly perforated. Right, let me do another one. Just tighten that up. I'm guessing you're not going to be able to see much of this. I'm so sorry. But oops, let's not cut the ruler up. There's that one. And this doesn't go right the way through. Well, I suppose it would if you were using thin paper, thin card. Like so. And the more horizontal, no, the more vertical you can have your handle, I find the easier it is. So there we go. So that's the perforations down each side. You can't really see them because of the score lines. And then I'm just going to do the same on here. So you could do this without marking it. Like so. And because it's rotary, you have to start a little way off and then a little way further down to finish it. Okay, so that is perforated. Hi Fran, I hope you're well. So we've used the postage stamp dies to create a template, which I've done here. I've just marked it out, cut those out, popped it onto my card, done my stamping through the template, added the blending brushes to make sure I've got the edges showing, and then I've used the perforating tool as well as my embossed line to create that interest on there, although I have to say you can hardly see the perforations. Maybe what I need to do is use pencil, but I do quite like the embossed line because then it sort of stays within the line. So what I'm going to do is add a sentiment, and then I'm going to use that tiny little die that comes with the Perennial Postage, which is this one, which is it creates an embossed image of a butterfly in like a postal mark. So what I'm going to do is put one here and one here. So it may be too subtle for you to see, I don't know, but we'll have a look. Depends on how much the camera will pick it up, but I've been meaning to use it, so now's as good a chance as any. So I'm going to use a long thin one, maybe thank you for your friendship, going across here. And I'm going to do that in Gorgeous Grape because I've got a Gorgeous Grape backing. So that's going to go on there. So we're using Perennial Postage at Coffee and Card tomorrow. So let's just make sure I don't stamp on the die. Grab Gorgeous Grape ink, which is here. Just going to try this. Oops. See how straight it is. Thank you, Fran. As I said, I did them a little bit too far apart. Okay. It's caught the edge of that tiny little bit, so I'll have to watch out for that. And did it again. Central. I'm going central. Hopefully I've got that straight. Oh, not bad. Okay, so lastly I'm going to use this little embossed die. So I'm just going to pop to my die casting machine. Excuse me 1 minute. And it goes through like a die, but it doesn't actually cut the paper. Just embosses it. Oops, daisy. I'll do one and then you can see it. I'm hoping this is going to come out on the camera. I don't know if you can see that on there. Here it is. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see. Let me know if you can see that. Ooh, just, I think, like that. You can see here's the top edge and the bottom edge. So I'm going to do the same on here. Make sure I get the butterfly. It has one way round. So I'm just making sure I do it the same on the other side. Excuse me, 1 minute. Go. Now you might be able to see that a little bit better now, this too, I don't know. So difficult in this light. I will try and photograph it so you can see, but it's very effective. Right, let me put this die away before I lose it. There it goes. Okay, so that is going to go onto a little gorgeous grey background. Now obviously what you can do is do this same thing without necessarily, well, you can mask them off but do them in different places, and then you could cut them out, or you could stamp a bigger scene like a One Cheap Wonder, and then cut each of those out just with the die itself. So I think there's so many variations of this. So this was the die that I used. So you could then raise those up. So what I could have done, excuse me, is stamped a panel like that, and then cut 1, 2, 3 to make it look like raised stamp. So that would be another way to do it, and then you wouldn't have to do the masking, but I quite like that effect. And I do also like this, there's a square set of dies, so you could do, you couldn't really do 4, but you could do, I guess you could do 6 on there, or you could have it that way, and also just put 1 in the corner. So a really useful set of dies, and of course you can use those just for cutting out. They don't have to be stamped, you know, as if they're stamped, if that makes any sense. So let's pop these onto here with our card. And we do of course have the little butterflies that you could put on there. You could put the dragonflies. There are some new sequin gems that go with this as well, all in purples, but I'm just going to leave that as it is. They're so nice, Carol. They really are. And the stamp set's nice. Obviously you've got lots of sentiments and nice format, because you've got lots of lowercase and uppercase and capitals right the way through. Right, let's just position that centrally, like so. And then that's going to go onto our layer like that. Find my glue. So I will do another set, I think, where I've just stamped some panels and then cut those out. But I do like to challenge myself with everything on one layer. So there's the finished card. I say apologies for the poor stamping on the left hand side, but the whole idea is the effect that you get. But I'm really pleased with that. That's exactly what I wanted to achieve. So just to show you how I created this, I had a piece of vellum, and then I positioned it on my grid paper, and then I measured the height of the stamp and then drew on the vellum 2 pencil lines. Obviously it wasn't this piece of grid paper because it's slightly different, but 2 grid lines, the height that I wanted. And then I drew a line down and then put the die on and then drew a line next to it. And then I used the spacing on the grid paper, which was 1/2 centimetre, to then draw another line and then repeat and repeat. Hi Valerie. I hope you're well, Valerie. Thanks for joining us. Sorry, I'm just wrapping up, but you'll be able to watch the replay shortly. And then I put the die on, ran it through, put the die on that piece, ran it through, etc, etc. So you end up with this, and as I said, you can, once this is dried, which it is now, you could reuse it over and over again. Obviously you can turn over, use it the other side as well, as long as this ink is dry. And then I just masked off the edges of this, and then use the blending brush, otherwise you don't get this edge detail. And then I did use the perforating tool and the embossing tool to create that line there. Not that you can see it particularly well. And then the little embossing postmark, which is on the top, which I'm hoping you can see, but if you can't see it now, we might just see that on the left. You'll be able to see it in the photo. So I am going to have a go and do that again and just punch out the scenes and see whether that looks better or not. You can let me know, see what you think. So the dies are called Perennial Postage dies. As I said, really useful set. That's all of them there, 12 I think we said, didn't we? Yeah, 12 dies altogether. And these you can use as reinforcers. And then you've got this little slot here, so you can turn these easily into little tags as well. Perfect for Christmas, wouldn't they be? And obviously 4 die cut layers. So that was those, and then the Painted Lavender was the stamp set that we used, and that's our stamp set of the week. So if you order the Painted Lavender from me this week, you get all the products that I've used. So I will include a pre-cut template for you. I will make them closer together. And you get the cardstock and the envelopes for this one, and this one. None of the stamping obviously, but you get all the panels and the embellishments to do those. So if you're interested in ordering the stamp set of the week or the dies, then just let me know and I can give you the details. So thank you so much everybody. I can't believe it's already 10 to 8 on Thursday evening, so I just need to have a little bit of a tidy up, make sure I put everything back ready for our coffee and card tomorrow. So these are the designs we're doing tomorrow in Brackley and on Monday in Toaster. If you're able to join us there, you'll be always welcome. And then we'll have a new stamp set next week and we'll go from stamping to a little bit of colouring. So I hope you're able to join me. Thank you so much. I am just starting new classes, new card making classes in Buckingham. That starts the 2nd, I want to say. Yep, the 2nd of March, you'll find me there. And there's also a new event that I'm doing jointly with one of my team members, Sam, and that'll be in Bicester. So watch this space for lots of new things coming up this year. If you haven't got a new spring catalogue, this red one, and you would like one and you're based in the UK and you don't already have a current demonstrator that looks after you, this one here, then let me know and I'll be more than happy to put one in the post. You can check them out online. Just go to jeminicraft.co.uk and down the right hand side and you can download and view all the mini catalogues and the main catalogue online. So in the meanwhile, thank you so much. Do have a great evening and I look forward to catching up with you very soon for some more crafting. Bye for now.